Wait, is this on first? You tell, is it live? Right now. Everybody stop talking now. Attention. I told you, all of my critics, I told you all that I was the greatest of all time when I beat Sonny Liston. I told you today I'm still the greatest of all time. Never again defeat me. Never again say that I'm going to be defeated. Never again make me the underdog until I'm about 50 years old. Right. Then you might get me. But I didn't dance. I didn't dance for a reason. I wanted to make him lose all his power. I kept telling him he had no punch. He couldn't hit. He's swinging like a sissy. He's missing. Let me see your box. I hadn't started dancing yet. You can't say my legs are gone. You can't say I was tired, because what happened? I didn't dance from the second round on. I stayed on the ropes. When I stay on the ropes, you think I'm doing bad. But I want all boxers to put this in the page of boxing. Staying on the ropes is a beautiful thing with a heavyweight when you make him shoot his best shots and you know he's not hitting you. I would have gave George Foreman 2 rounds of steady punching, because after that he was mine. But he was falling, he was missing. I don't know if I'm going to fight again or not. I'm going to retire as of now. I have to talk to my leader, the most honorable. Are you still planning to retire? Assalamu alaikum. Beautiful thing with a heavyweight when you make him shoot his best shots and you know he's not hitting you. I would have gave George Foreman 2 rounds of steady punching, because after that he was mine. But he was falling, he was missing. I don't know if I'm going to fight again or not. But he was falling, he was missing. I don't know if I'm going to fight again or not. I'm going to retire as of now. I have to talk to my leader.
I don't know if I'm going to fight again or not. I'm going to retire as of now. What's up, everybody? Hope you're all doing well. That's Muhammad Ali speaking to the world after defeating George Foreman. He talked about retiring before the fight, and after the fight he confirmed it. He said, as of right now, I'm retired. Seeing as there's been quite a bit of talk about Tyson Fury being stripped by Ring Magazine, and I've had this ongoing banter with the Red Fox about the fact, not opinion, the fact that Pacquiao is still the lineal welterweight champion, unless you really thought Horn beat him, and you would be in a very, 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 very tiny minority. Then Jeff Horn is the lineal champion. But for me, Pacquiao is the lineal champion. Officially, it would have to be Horn. I get that. Red Fox's counter-argument was that Pacquiao, after his fight with Timothy Bradley, said he was retiring. And that's the argument taken up by some of the pundits who have, quote-unquote, stripped Pacquiao of his lineal title, when you can't do that. You can't strip anybody of the lineal title because, frankly, it doesn't exist. There are certain rules that have always been obeyed. Maybe not to a T, maybe not always. But if there have been instances other than Canelo Triple G where the lineal title rules have not been respected by the pundits, you let me know. But from what I understand, from what I know of boxing history, these certain rules have always been followed, and they are as follow. You become the man when you beat the man, right? Or when the number 1 and the number 2 consensus fighters in any division where there is no lineal champion fight. The winner of that fight becomes lineal, and the man to beat that man becomes the man or the lineal, and so on and so forth. The lineage of the lineal title continues linearly in a straight line. Anyway, so Muhammad Ali talked about retiring before the fight, and right after the fight he said, as of right now, I am retired. You just saw it. Can't argue against it. Now, Muhammad Ali fought George Foreman in 1972? I don't know. Anyway, George Foreman was the lineal heavyweight champion, and Muhammad Ali took that from him in exactly, let's see, Muhammad Ali, 1974. And he remained, despite the fact that he said he was retiring, he remained the lineal champion for about 4 years. It didn't take but about 5 months before he was back in the ring fighting, after he said he was retiring, right? So he remained the lineal title holder. He didn't vacate his belts. He remained. His WBA championship belt, or the NBA, whatever it was the WA back then, I think, and the WBC. He became the lineal champion, and he stayed, despite the fact that he said he's retiring, right? Now, I don't know history of Mayweather and lineal titles, but I know Mayweather's always talking about retiring, was talking about retiring. Andre Ward's always talking about retiring. Tyson Fury was talking about retiring. Fighters always talk about retiring, and they're not stripped of their titles. Whether they have lineals or not, they're not stripped unless they break the rules, right? Don't fight their mandos, they duck fights, or they officially retire and vacate their belts, right? And as far as Tyson Fury goes, his situation, he's still the lineal champion because he never retired. He was never beaten in the ring. And the Ring Magazine title is not the lineal title. He hasn't been for many years. The break that I recall, and maybe it has happened before that, but the break that I recall was when they put the Ring Magazine belt on the line for Roy Jones Jr., even though Dariusz Michalczewski was the man in the division, right? Because he was the man that beat the man. And Roy Jones Jr. never beat the man, so he was never the lineal champion, even though Ring Magazine called him that. That was fraudulent, right? So that's at least one instance where, maybe the first one, where the Ring Magazine broke away from the boxing lineage and became just a trinket. It was no longer the lineal belt, like maybe in years past. But as far as Sammy Angut goes, who Red Fox, and I'm wondering if this example of Sammy Angut comes from the boxing librarian or Cameroonian or whatever he is. I don't know if that's where this idea came from, but you should be very careful taking your cues from the boxing librarian because the man is biased. He runs an agenda. He never gives you the full story, and quite frankly, he doesn't know shit about boxing. And if he disagrees, BDA or STFU. Anyway, Sammy Angut vacated his world lightweight title because he had a broken hand that didn't heal properly, and he vacated his world lightweight title, thereby also vacating the lineal championship. He officially retired. He did. He didn't just say he was retiring. He actually officially retired because he vacated his belt, right? And even though he came back 5 months or 6 months later, 5 months, it didn't matter because he vacated his lightweight belt, right? Now Pacquiao won a trinket against, let's look up Pacquiao. He won a trinket against Timothy Bradley. I believe it was WBO International, one of the minor belts, right? And, you know, just like Muhammad Ali, after his wife gave him a kiss in the ring and whispered in his ear, please stop fighting, my dear. You know, emotions running high, adrenaline all pumped. Manny Pacquiao said, I'm retiring, right? But never officially relinquished his trinket, his belt. This belt he won against vacant WBO International title. That belt he won against Timothy Bradley wasn't contested until very recently. I believe it was Matisse that fought for it. I'm not sure. But, well, let's check. Why don't we? Yeah, Matisse and Taylor fought for that belt about a year later. Pacquiao never relinquished that belt, and by the time Matisse and Taylor fought, Pacquiao had already regained his former WBO strap from Jesse Vargas. So, yes, Pacquiao, just like Muhammad Ali, just like Tyson Fury, just like Mayweather, just like all these fighters who always talk about retiring, said that he was retiring. but in effect never retired, never relinquished any of his belts, and was back in the ring six months later defending his Lineal welterweight title against Jesse Vargas, beating him, and then later got robbed against Jeff Horn. And if you thought officially Jeff Horn is the Lineal champion, he should be, but the fact that it's not listed as such in Wikipedia, that's just biased boxing pundits who are not following boxing history and are not treating Pacquiao with the same respect they treated Muhammad Ali. But this shouldn't be a surprise because Pacquiao has always been mistreated. He's been robbed numerous times. They've attempted to rob him 1,000,000 times. And anybody who doesn't recognize Pacquiao as one of the greatest fighters of all time, who had to do it against all odds, not like Muhammad Ali, who had a very easy road and chose to go to jail himself, but we're not going to get into all that. He had a plea deal that he didn't take. He wanted to go to jail. Well, I don't think he did. It was probably his controllers that told him he had to. But we'll get into all that in another video, maybe, hopefully, we'll see. But point is this. Just like Muhammad Ali, you can't compare Pacquiao to Angat because Angat relinquished his belt. Pacquiao never relinquished his. Even though it was a minor belt, the Lineal title is not attached to whatever other title you might be holding because it's a mythical title. But the point is that when you relinquish your title, you are retired, and you say you're retiring, that's official, okay? And Angat did this, but Pacquiao, just like Muhammad Ali, they did not vacate their belts, whichever belts they held, and they were back in the ring within a few months, never officially retiring, meaning they remained Lineal champion, okay? Now, maybe if in the interim, while Pacquiao was quote-unquote retired, had the number 1 and the number 2 welterweight in the division fought, then you'd have an argument. But that didn't happen, so Pacquiao remained the Lineal champion. You can't strip anybody of their Lineal title. They have to lose it in the ring or they have to retire. And again, we have to be consistent here, and we have to give Pacquiao the same benefit of the doubt we gave to Muhammad Ali, because that's called being objective, that's called being fair, and that's called keeping it real, okay? So the Sammy Angat situation probably came from the boxing librarian, but that dude is a high-class troll. He doesn't know shit about boxing, and just because he memorized a bunch of factoids, that doesn't mean that he ever paints the full story, both sides of the story. He's just a propagandist, and if you choose to follow what he says, well, do that at your own risk. So, Pacquiao or Horn, officially, Jeff Horn is the Lineal welterweight champion, and there's no argument to the contrary. It just doesn't exist. Unless you want to tell me Muhammad Ali wasn't the Lineal champion anymore, which you can't say anymore because he was always considered and forever will be. So too bad, too late. Pacquiao or Horn is the Lineal welterweight champion. Officially it's Horn, obviously, because he got that decision. Tyson Fury is the Lineal heavyweight champion, just like Muhammad Ali remained the Lineal heavyweight champion, even though he said he's retiring, okay? So keep it consistent, keep it real, and beware of frauds, be they Jeff Horn or boxing librarians. Thank you for listening. I'm out.